So why do you mix audio? Why do you do live sound or record in a studio or a DJ, produce music in any kind of way? Have you ever thought about that? I'm doing this series now where hopefully in just a few minutes I'm going to cover some of the big concepts behind audio mixing, and in this one I'm talking about mixing audio as an act of worship. Novelist David Foster Wallace said this, because here's something else that's weird but true. In the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there is actually no such thing as atheism. There is no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. He went on to say that some people are going to worship a god of some sort, but then some people are going to worship money or sex or fame or success. It all depends what you choose. He mentioned that if you worship those other things, that it might lead you to despair because you'll never quite get there, never be fully satisfied. But if you worship a god, then you might. And this is a guy who's an atheist. Really good insight. Of course, there's nothing really wrong with money or fame or sex or success if it's in its right place. But they also aren't things that deserve worship. They aren't things that are going to be something worth giving that kind of your heart to. But everybody does worship something. And I choose to worship Jesus Christ. And then because of that, I choose to see my audio mixing that I do as an act of worship. And I think if you do that, that will imbue it with the absolute highest value possible. Anything done because it's done for God, because you love Him, can be an act of worship. And audio mixing is no different than that. So in the Bible, there's this passage called Colossians 3, verses 23 to 24. And it says this, "Whatever you do, work at it heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you'll receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ." So if you were just wrapping cables and getting coffees, do it with the absolute best of your ability. If you're mixing audio, mix as if God Himself is listening, because He is. In whatever you do doing audio, do it as if worship for God. If you're not yet mixing audio as an act of worship, you're actually missing out on one of the core things that God might have for your life. You might even be serving at a church and still not be doing your audio mixing as an act of worship. I know for myself. I've been now in church for a long time, and there's some weekends I realize I haven't really dedicated this to the Lord. I really haven't had Him in mind. It's just become kind of a job. And that's still good. God still likes that, but I do so much better when I remember and care about everything I do as if I'm doing it for God. So every fader move I do, every EQ tweak I make, every monitor adjustment I make, I do them with my absolute best ability so that God can be honored and worshiped. I'm not doing it just because I want the pastors to like what I'm doing, but I do. I'm not doing it just because I want the worship band to be able to perform to their best, but I do. I'm not doing it just because I want the congregation to have the best experience possible with worship, or the people online mostly now, even though I do. The main and the most important reason I'm mixing audio is so that God will be glorified and that I will please Him. If you don't know how to start doing your audio as an act of worship, it's rather quite simple. It's really as simple as just keeping in mind that God is listening and He does care, and then just doing it for Him. And He will actually really enjoy that, appreciate that, and He'll actually be very proud of you. You'll also find that if you do start mixing as an act of worship, even if things start going wrong, they won't hit you as the same way as badly, because you're doing it for God. And if you found this video and you actually watched this far and you actually don't know God yet, you don't really know if you have a relationship with Him, I'd love to help you on that journey. And I'd be happy to answer some questions or help you in any way I can. Or if you have any questions about this video, please just throw some comments in. I'd be happy to do my best to answer. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, the first in the series about big concepts in audio mixing. There'll be many more to come, so I hope you tune in for those. Okay, God bless.